Okay, so in this video, we're gonna learn how to reverse a linked list. So let's say you have a linked list like this. Let's say you have 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, and this 5 last node is pointing to null. So in here, we need to reverse it. So after when we're gonna reverse it, it will gonna look something like this, where this first node here will be pointing to null, where this 3 going to be pointing to 2, and this 4 will be pointing to 3, this 5 will be pointing to 4. So at first in this linked list we can see that our head is here, and in this linked list our head is this. Okay, so what's really common here, if you see that how we're gonna go from here to here, we're gonna use the iterative method. So one of the things that we notice here, that at first this 2 here is pointing to 3, and in this linked list is this 2 is pointing to null, 3 is pointing to 4, and 3 is pointing to 2, 4 is pointing to 5, and 4 is pointing to 3. So if you see that if you leave the first node and if you leave the last node, in here also if you leave the first node and the last node, you will notice that this 3 here is pointing to 4, which is the forward node, and in here this 3 is pointing to the previous node. This 4 is pointing to the forward node. In here this 4 is pointing to the previous node. So what if we do something that this will, like every single node here in the linked list will point to the previous node, which is pretty easy to do. So let's see how we can do that. Okay, let's take our linked list back here. So we were having this 2, then this 3, then this 4, then this 5, and then null. Okay, so at first if I take a pointer here on the first node, let's say current, and if I do one thing, that if I make this currents, like right now if you can see that the currents next is equals to 3. If I do something that I will make the currents next equals to null, that's what I want. I want to make this node, I want to make this particular node's next as null, because we had saw here that this 2 here should point to null. Okay, we're gonna do the same thing here. So this current is here is 2, which is pointing to 3, and we need to make this point to null. Okay, how are we gonna do that? So what if I declare a pointer already as, let's say, prev equals to null. If I declare like this already, then I can do this thing that I can simply make this currents next as prev, because I know that prev is null. So we're already gonna point this 2 to null. So our linked list will gonna look something like this. So we can do here. So our linked list, new linked list will gonna look something like this. This is pointing to null here, and then this 3, then this 4, and then this 5, and then null. So we completed our first step. We made this 2, like this 2 was pointing to 3, we made this point to null, and that's what we wanted. Now we need to do the same thing for 3 also. The 3 here is pointing to 4, and we need to make this 3 point to 2. Okay, how are we gonna do that? So before we go here, we need to see that there is a problem here. So if you see that we haven't saved this node in our new linked list, this node we don't know which is it, it's not the head, it's not something that we declare already. So even before making this 2 point to null, we need to do something that this will already save this next node with something. So to do that, to save the forward node, we declare another pointer, let's say as the forward pointer. So let's say that is the forward pointer, and we declare as the currents next. Currents next. Okay, so now this forward pointer will want to point to the currents next every time. So in the original linked list we can say that this will be pointing to 3 already, So in the new list also, this will be pointing to 3 already. Okay, so now we can do is that now we know that this is 4, and we know we need to make this 4's next, which is 4 right now. So like we can see that this we can see here that this 4's next is equals to 4, and we need to do this thing that we need to make this 4's next equals to 2. So we will not gonna take 4 here, because 4 here we had just preserved to preserve the next node. Okay, so to do this, to before we're gonna go through, we're gonna do this thing also. We're gonna make our current pointer as 4. So now this is still a 4, this is still a 4. Now our current also points here. The curr current also points to the 3. After that, I can simply write currents next is equals to the previous, the 2. Okay, but now we don't know where is the 2. We cannot simply assign the currents next equals to 2. We need to make this something. Okay, so we knew this thing, that we have this thing right here which we called as prev, to save the previous node. So we can simply say this thing that before even going to this step, we can simply write here that our previous is equals to the current. Why? Because we know this thing that our current is on 2. We can see that our current is on 2. Okay, and now my previous is this, right? This is my previous. Now I need to make my previous to go for 2. So that's what I did. I made the previous equals to current, because my current was 2. So I just made this previous now. Okay, so we can simply write that this is our previous now, because previous equals to current, we can see here. Okay, this is also 4, and this is current. So we can simply now say this thing that we can rub this thing, and we can simply say it again, that this current next is equals to prev, because prev here is 2. So currents next will gonna be prev. So the currents next actually became 2 now. We're gonna repeat this again and again until we reach current equals to null. Until we reach current equals to null. If the current became null, that means there's no more nodes left. Okay, so let's dry run this first. Firstly, we're gonna write the code for it, then we're gonna dry run this for this same list. So let's write the code first. So outside of the loop, we're gonna write here that list node, our current pointer, which is pointing to the head of the node. Then we're gonna take another pointer, list node, previous pointer. At first, we need to make it point to the null. So we got this current pointer and previous pointer. Now we're gonna start a while loop, which will gonna go for current is not. So as soon as the current becomes null, we're gonna stop the loop. Okay, so at first we're gonna write here. So even before doing anything, I told you that we needed to save the next node. We need to save this next node here. We need to save this node before even I do this, because if I straight away came here, I'm gonna lose the pointer to this node. So even before going ahead towards this, we need to save our next node by doing something, and that we use this for pointer for that forward pointer. So we're going to declare a pointer inside here. We're going to call this as list node star 4 equals to currents next. Okay, so currents next is saved by our forward pointer, we can see. Okay, now what I need to do is I need to make this currents next as the previous. So whatever is the previous node, I just need to change the current node next as the previous node. We just need to reverse the sign, reverse the arrow, right? After that, these two things done, our work is done. This is our main thing to do. Current next. We need to make this to the previous node. We need to make the current node point to the previous node. Okay, we did this. To move ahead, we're gonna do that previous is equals to current, and our current is equals to foot. Okay, and we're gonna close the loop right here. And in the end, we're gonna return the prev. You can also do this thing if this is confusing for you. You can just simply do one thing that, okay, let's leave that. Okay, this is the code. This is the only code you need to use to reverse a linked list. So let's just dry run this. Okay, let's dry run this. Okay, so let's take our linked list here. Again, we have this 2, we have this 3, then 4, then 5, and then it's pointing to the null in the end. We need to reverse it. So at first our current is head and our previous is null. So if our current is head, this is our head currently, right? So we're gonna make this is head. So we're gonna make this as current according to our code, and we're gonna go inside of the loop now. So our loop has started now. We're gonna go inside of the loop, and we can see here that this forward is this. So we can see that this current next is forward. So that's what we did here. This is the current next, this is the current next, and this is the forward. Okay. After this, what we did here is we made the current next points to the previous. Current next is previous. So our linked list will gonna look something like this. Previous is null, we know that, and this is our current, and now this is our current. This is our current, and our linked list just goes same. This is our forward, this is our 4, and then 5, and then no. Okay, so we got here. So we made our currents next as null. Now we need to make our previous as current. So our previous is current. That means that this is now previous. This is now previous, and then our current is foot. Foot here is 4 actually, sorry. This is our previous now, and this is our 4. We need to make our 4 this. We need to make our current as 4. We need to move our current ahead. So we're gonna do the same thing, that our current is no more this. This is not our current now. So we can just simply sign a cross here, and now this is our current. Okay, so this all will gonna happen in the first iteration. Now you will gonna go again into the loop. You will gonna save this currents next as 4. So now this is 4. Now this is gonna be 4, so we can just simply go with that too. So this is our second iteration, where we can see that this is our prev pointer, and so this is our prev pointer. And now as soon as we go into the loop, we can see that we are making our 4 as currents next. So this 4 here will gonna come here now in the second iteration. So we can just simply assign here that this 3 is current, and this 3 is pointing to 4, which is 4 now, and it's 5, and it's null. Okay, so we did this. Now again we're gonna do the same thing, that our currents next will gonna become the previous. The currents next here is previous. So we can see here that that's what we're gonna do here. this null, this 2 here, and this 3 will gonna point to the previous, so we're gonna look like this. This is our previous, and this is our current, and this is 4, 4, and then 5, and then null. Okay, so we came here, so we can see here that our 2 nodes had been reversed successfully, and we have to do the same thing for 4 and 5 also. Again, we're gonna do the same thing. This previous will gonna become current, so now this will not going to be previous anymore, and now this is previous, and this is going to be current, this is not going to be current. So in the next iteration, we're gonna move to the next iteration, we're gonna see that we're gonna make this linked list again. This is 2, this is 3, and this is 4. So in the next iteration, this 4 will gonna become the currents next. So this is the current, this is the currents next. This 4 will gonna move here, okay? And this is still going to be the current. This is CUR current, and this is the previous one. And this 5 is our 4 now, and this is pointing to null, okay? Again, the same thing, this current will gonna become the previous, and we can do that 2, 3, then 4, and then 5, 4, just pointing to null, and this is current, this is prev. So this current pointing to the previous now, so now this previous will gonna become current, and this current will gonna become 4. So we can just do that. This is not previous anymore, this is prev now. This is not current anymore, this is the current now. Again, we're gonna do the same thing. Our null, this 2 is pointing to null, this 3 is pointing to 2, this 4, which is our previous node, this is the 5th, which is 4, and it's pointing to null, and this is our current also. The next iteration what gonna happen, we know this thing, this 4 actually becomes the currents next. So currents next is null now, so this 4 will actually gonna become now null. So we can write here that the 4 is equals to null now, okay? So we can do this thing, this current will now gonna point to this previous, and we can do that too. Null, 2, then 3, then 4. This is prev. Now this current points to this prev, so this 5 is here. And this 4 is null now, this 4 is null now, and our current is still here, okay? So this is the thing, this is the case, and now we do the same thing, that we actually do this thing, that this prev becomes the current, this prev becomes the current, and the current becomes the 4. So this prev will gonna move, this prev will gonna move here, and this current will gonna become null, because current is equals to 4, and we know this thing that the 4 is null. So as soon as this happens, we can end the loop, because our loop only runs for current is not equals to null. So we are successfully able to reverse it. So now this previous points to this 5. So in the end, even if you return prev, this is going to be the correct answer, because prev is the starting point of this linked list now. This prev is the starting point of this linked list, so if you return prev, you will be getting this whole linked list in the answer. Okay, so let's see the actual code on LeetCode. Okay, so this is our question, reverse a linked list on LeetCode, and as we discussed, we need to declare some pointers here. Let's say list node, list node star our current pointer, which is pointing to the head at first. Then we're going to declare our previous pointer, which is pointing to null at first. And then we're gonna open our while loop, which we're gonna go for until this current doesn't become null. So at first we need to declare another pointer which will be saving the future node, the forward node. So we can take this as like forward equals to, which is equals to the currents next. And after that we need to make our currents next point to the previous node. And after that our previous node will going to be equal to our current node, and our current node will going to be equals to our the forward node, because to move ahead we need to do this. In the end we can just simply return, because our previous pointer will be pointing to the last node when this loop will gonna end. Prev, and let's see if it so we can see our code is accepted, all three cases passed. Okay, we can just go through some test edge cases also. What if this head is equals to null, or this head's next is equals to null? Both cases are possible. In these both cases we can just simply return the head, because if there's only going to be one node, then what are you going to reverse in that? That's simply already reversed. So let's submit it now. So you can see our code is accepted. So hope you like the video.